we have on the screen the historic price for the last year of Meta's Facebook
Yeah. So
stock.
let's describe what we're seeing here real quick for the users. So we have a graph showing Facebook or Meta stock from last year. So over the last year, it peaked at a little bit over 300 at 338, and it's now down to approximately 100, 110. So it
Yes,
declined by what's
two
that,
thirds. Yeah,
66%, right? So
yeah,
okay,
basically.
so that's the current situation of Meta. Moving on,
Yeah,
what do you think of Meta right now?
I think that Meta is facing like a really interesting moment. I think they have plenty of resources, George. So I think that they will be able to come through from these really tough times for them. So what we know is that they invested a lot of money in their metaverse project, right? That you know more a lot about that than me, but like they used a lot of cash, and we what we know this for the last year is that they have a strong decrease in their cash flow. So for example, if you think about the net income before extraordinaries for Meta. 1 year ago, that net income was close to 10 billion US dollars, George.
Mhm.
For the end of last quarter, it was down to 4.4 billion, right? So that's half of what they were getting as net income a year ago. So of course that explains a lot of why the stock has dropped so dramatically, because in terms of cash flow, they have seen an important decrease. If you, for example, think about revenue, it's really interesting that there has not been such a strong decrease in revenue. Like their sales and revenue was close to 30 billion. So that's at the end of third quarter of 2021. And last quarter, at the end of the third quarter of 2022, their sales revenue was around 27 billion. So yeah, just that's just like a 2 billion difference. What happens there is that, growth estimates were like strongly damaged. Like they fell short of what was expected for Meta. So yeah, what I think personally is that Meta is a really strong company. I mean, financially, it is. When you compare it to these FTX and like, these crypto startups, and you understand how leveraged they were, like Meta seems like so strong. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, it's like I mean, they have a huge market share. Like they are so dominant in their like social media platforms. I mean, their revenue it decreased a little, but customers are there, and I think that they will learn. And I think we have now evidence that they are trying to change plans so that they can continue growing.
Correct. It
Um,
seems like they're going to adjust their strategy, move away, not move away from the metaverse, but probably reduce a little bit the investment. Not sure though.
yes,
So I think that that's something that remains to be seen.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that if you listen to like institutional investors, these huge investment funds that have a lot of power
Mhm.
in Meta, that's what they want. Like first, it's okay. If we are seeing like no growth, okay, you need to quickly adapt your like your cost and financial structure so that you keep being profitable and that you keep being a financially healthy company. But then, like, you need to think about where you're going to invest money to keep growing. So you mentioned in a conversation with me, like, okay, they still have a lot of growth for Instagram, WhatsApp,
Correct. That. So
Facebook in
I was
emerging
looking at
markets.
this. I was looking at this, and generally, so I'm very conflicted, uh, because I technically want them to move away from the metaverse strategy because there's one big question here whether the metaverse trend is actually going to materialize, right? Like, so I think that there's a specific world that Zuckerberg is imagining where everyone is going to wear headsets and like the Quest. They've just now released the Quest 2. And that there's like a really really big question mark for me whether that is going to materialize. Like I've played around a little bit with virtual reality and also augmented reality. I've tried out some of these headsets. There's some limits in terms of what the hardware can do in terms of processing power and having a really high resolution. So there was one problem with the Quest where you could see different screens, but they would actually be blurry. Like you could you know you'd have like these different apps where you could like kind of like work with different screens, but the processing power actually wasn't high enough. Now apparently with the Quest 2 it's slightly better, but I think that there's like a really big question mark around that. So I'm not so sure whether the metaverse is going to be more than it is today. I
Yeah.
think it's not such a clear trend. Also because
Yeah.
the point of entry is it's kind of expensive. You know, I think the Quest 2 now costs 1,500. So
Well.
I think considering that it's so expensive, I don't think that you'll have like mass market adoption by consumers. I think the point of entry might be companies. So, you know, if a company decides, you know, wearing these headsets makes everyone in the company 10% more productive, then companies are just going to order thousands of these headsets and going to say, you know, especially companies that are maybe working remotely are going to say, hey, everyone is going to wear these headsets. We're all going to like collaborate virtually in this virtual reality environment. Facebook is also rolling out some tools for that. You know, the Horizon workspace that Facebook is launching, but I'm not sure if that's actually going to be the case. So I think it really, really depends if virtual reality is going to make you more productive in your work or not. And I think that that's actually a really, really big question mark for me personally. And then and let's say it does get there. Let's say the technology does get there and you do become more productive. Then there's another really, really big obstacle, which is actually selling to companies, having this B2B sales DNA in your company. And Facebook has performed horribly in the past trying to sell to B2B, right? Like their Facebook had Workspace, which only had like 7 million users or something like that. Compare that to Microsoft Teams, which had 140 million. So I'm not even sure if Facebook is going to be able to dominate the B2B virtual reality space.
Yeah.
So that's something that's a little bit worrying. If you're if you're a Facebook investor and you think that the company is like basing their entire strategy on the metaverse, I'm not sure if they're actually going to be able to manage that, having a successful point of entry to getting mass adoption. And then there's a competitor, which is Microsoft, who I've already mentioned, and
Yes.
I think are much much better positioned with, you know, years of experience in selling to companies. And then there's another point of entry to the metaverse, which is just video games. You know, just
Yeah.
like and there Microsoft again is much better positioned because of the catalog of intellectual property that they have. They've bought all the big studios, etc. I have the numbers here. Give me a second. I'll just pull up the numbers. So Microsoft bought a Minecraft a couple of years ago for $2 billion, and that has 140 million active users. They bought ZeniMax Media, which had, you know, games such as Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, for 7.5 billion. They bought Blizzard for 70 billion, which was basically one of the largest acquisitions in tech ever. And Blizzard has titles like Call of Duty, Warcraft, etc. So Microsoft is really, really well positioned to dominate the point of entry to the metaverse
Hmm.
via games. You know,
Yeah.
so I think that is going to be a huge competitive advantage for Microsoft, and it's kind of a strategic danger, a strategic
Yeah.
threat to Facebook. Now, mentioning all of this, despite all of this, I kind of think that if Facebook would just focus on their core business and think about just growing their existing apps and optimizing monetization, they're really, really well positioned. So that's the other
Yeah.
point, like the other side of the coin, so to speak. So, and the interesting thing is that Facebook, the app is actually still adding users, and there's quite limited churn. So there's this one meme that is the decline of Facebook. No one is using Facebook anymore, and that's actually not true if you're looking at the numbers. So Facebook added 16 million users, daily active users, and 24 million monthly active users over the last 12 months. They're now at 1.9 to almost 2 billion daily active users. So basically everyone on planet Earth. I mean, we're now 8 billion. Basically everyone who lives on planet Earth, almost everyone is using Facebook. So Facebook, the app, is still growing, and there's very very limited churn. And then there's WhatsApp as well, because WhatsApp is really really interesting because WhatsApp is growing in the US as well. So WhatsApp is already huge in any emerging market. I would say actually everywhere outside of the US. WhatsApp is the dominant messaging app. And I think
Yeah.
here US centricity can also hurt you. If you just live in the US, you never use WhatsApp, you actually don't know how the rest of the world interacts with Facebook products. Because the one Facebook or Meta product that I use every day, that everyone I know uses every single day, is WhatsApp. And they
Yes.
haven't even started monetizing WhatsApp. So if they
Yes.
start monetizing WhatsApp, that's going to be crazy, crazy revenue stream potentially. And so I
Yes.
think that that's very, very positive. And then the other interesting thing is TikTok. So because that's the other kind of trend that analysts are really really worried about, that TikTok is going to kill Facebook. And if we've learned anything from the past, is that Facebook kills competitors. They just are really really good at copying features. And they did this in the past. They did this with Snapchat, and everyone said Snapchat, like 5 years ago or 7 years ago, everyone said Snapchat is going to kill Facebook, and Facebook just basically rolled out copycat features and completely dominated it. And I think the same is actually happening with Facebook Reels. That's the Instagram product that is directly competing with TikTok. And it's actually really interesting if you just look at these numbers, because TikTok as a company had $4 billion in revenue in 2021, and just advertising on Reels had $3 billion
Yeah, that's crazy.
in revenue. And that's just one little product, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
okay,
wild.
maybe
Yeah.
TikTok has better growth and overall has like more minutes watched, etc., etc., etc. Yes, engagement is bigger on TikTok, but Facebook or Meta is absolutely genius at monetizing, right? So this
Yeah.
and that's actually really really important, because Facebook, like no other company, has figured out how to monetize apps. So
Yes.
I think that that's like a really, really, really interesting and really meaningful number there, just to put that into perspective. Everyone who's
Yeah.
thinking, oh, TikTok is going to kill Facebook, one little Facebook feature which is Reels inside of Instagram, is making 75% of total revenue that TikTok is generating. So
Yeah. George.
not really sure that TikTok is going to kill it. So I think that Facebook is or Meta and their family of apps are super well positioned. They just need to focus on that, and they're going to crush it. I think that they're really really well positioned, and
Yes.
they're so embedded in the daily lives of billions of people like no other company.
Hmm. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So Facebook is a buy. Do we agree?
Yes. Just to like finish this point. Do you know when was the last time when we had access to a Meta or Facebook stock around $100? Like, that's the. I think yesterday it closed around 108.
No,
Like,
I've not. Well, that was maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
you're right. Like 2015 price
2015,
ranges. Like,
7 years.
yeah. So what I tell a lot of people is like, hey, like if you believe in Meta, if you believe in Facebook, there are so many points for it. Like you just mentioned, this is like a time machine. Like you're going back 7 years in time, and buy and you could buy like Meta stocks or Facebook stocks in that time around $100. That's an opportunity. And if you compare like the current price to earnings ratio for the Meta stock right now is around 10. 7 years ago in 2015, it was around 80, George.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
So very healthy
uh,
ratio.
yeah, and the earnings per share in 2015 were around $1.29 per share, and right now it's around 10.5 earnings per share, right? Yeah, so I think it's really interesting time for Meta, and my guess is that this this is probably a great time to buy the Meta
Yeah.
stock. Like
I bought
would
them.
be
I bought them
my
last week, so I opened a small
okay.
position.
I'll buy a few more Meta stocks in the following weeks for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm now going to start averaging into that stock. Seems like it's well positioned. Just needs to focus. All right.